Hello! Welcome to another episode of Manga Monday. I am Jason Hahn, and today we're talking about Chainsaw Man, chapter 104, titled Spoiler. And oh boy, we're going to get into some spoilers of this new chapter of Chainsaw Man. But again, I am Jason Hahn. I'm a writer for ScreenRant.com. I happen to write a lot of video game related stuff, but I'm a huge manga fan, so we decided to start the Manga Mondays podcast to talk about the series we love and their new chapters. And today, I got some other buddies from Screen Rant, more specifically the comics section, who are a lot more knowledgeable in a lot of this stuff than I am, to talk about the new chapter. I'll go and let them introduce themselves. Ben, how are you, man?
I'm doing good. I'm Ben. I'm also a writer at Screen Rant for the comic section, writing about manga, DC, Marvel Comics, all that good stuff. And I mean, this chapter of Chainsaw Man was just great. So I'm very hyped to talk about it.
I agree. There wasn't a whole lot of action, but it just nailed the comedy and a lot of the tension going on with some of the characters. It was pretty enjoyable. It moved things forward pretty well. But we have another buddy here to help us talk about it. Steven, how are you, man?
Hey, how's it going? I'm doing well. Yeah, my name is Steven, and I'm a writer for the comic section, writing about manga. And recently I've been getting into a lot of Powerpuff Girls stuff. That's my world right now. But we are talking about Chainsaw Man, and Chainsaw Man is awesome, and I'm excited to talk about this chapter.
Yeah, speaking of Powerpuff Girls, pretty much the Powerpuff Girl of the Chainsaw Man universe at the moment, Mitaka, is kind of started out. I actually am really enjoying the dynamic and conversations that she's having with the War Devil that's possessing her. Especially on how Fujimoto's like framing it up, where it's like Mitaka is trying to sleep, and then it's just cutting to the War Devil, who is using her same body, like throwing a fit and burying her face in the pillow, and just the way he's like framing both personalities to kind of be existing in the same space, but not at the same time. I think it's just really, really fascinating how well he's conveying this conversation between two characters on the page. I really enjoyed that conversation, and we even got a little bit more insight into why the War Devil is so angry at Chainsaw Man. Apparently, he ate part of her, which this is kind of revealing, I guess, that he doesn't even need to eat all of a devil to make them be forgotten and lose power. So it's kind of interesting that she's still around, walking around, and still exists, even though he ate part of her. And it's just that it's just more incentive for her to have him regurgitate that part up, so that she can get more powerful. At the horrible opposite of benefit for humanity.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see because I know when the first chapter of this part dropped, people were like, oh, does this mean that Chainsaw Man ate the nuclear weapons devil, right? And there was a lot of talk about that. And based on what this is implying, that he didn't eat like a nuclear weapons devil. He just ate the nuclear weapons part of the war devil, which is very interesting, as you say, that like, what does this mean for when he eats parts of other devils and things like that. She could also be speaking like figuratively, like I don't know, maybe the War Devil has a bunch of minor devils that follow them, but it's a very interesting lore detail.
Yeah, I mean, the way I was reading it, and it could be wrong too, is that it sounds like if the Chainsaw Devil eats an entire devil, then they are obviously forgotten about completely. But it seems like if you only take bites of them, then a part of them is lost. Like currently, so he took that bite out of her, and because of that, there's no war, but people still know what war is because, there's movies and games about it. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, like you're saying, like the more he eats out of a devil, it seems like the more of that particular aspect of fear is lost. And when he eats all of them, that's when it's completely gone. So it's very interesting. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if it's gonna somehow come back to Misaka or the previous control devil.
Makima.
Because as we saw at the end of Chainsaw Man Part 1, spoilers, that's the name of the manga, or the chapter, you get it.
Is it? Oh, that's funny, I didn't even realize that. That was spoiler.
He eats her, but like slicing, well, they even reference that later in the chapter. I won't jump to the end of the chapter, but this chapter is hilarious. I love he's so far in part 2, he's been bringing the comedy pretty hard, but this one just had the oh boy, I forget in theater and film and stuff, but people have scientifically broken down sketch structures and stuff like that. There's the like normal man and the crazy world and that kind of thing. And Denji just consistently having to try to keep his secret, but at the same time not wanting to keep his secret is just some really fun tension that they play around with later. But as I was saying, he was eating, like, so somebody actually packaged up the previous war devil, or control devil, and he was just eating pieces of her at a time. And so I'm almost wondering if that's going to come back to this revelation that eating parts of them doesn't fully get rid of them, but she's also been reincarnated as the little girl too. So yeah, I'm not sure.
That was also as Denji himself, not as like Chainsaw Man. So that also probably affects things.
Yeah. Did you have something, Steven?
No.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm very curious to see if that's just kind of a throwaway line. As Ben mentioned, it may have just been kind of I forget the word he used, but like maybe a hypothetical or something like that. But I'm curious to see if that jumps more into it. But also, we're kind of getting Mitaka's, but she's starting to change her mind on Chainsaw Man after being saved. She's glad that she didn't die, and so she's thankful. And I'm wondering if this is kind of a reveal too, that the War Devil is not necessarily able to read her thoughts. Because I'm thinking that if she did say something like, you know what, I'm glad, thanks Chainsaw Man, that the War Devil may have, been angry at this. But then again, the War Devil was shown sleeping or had fallen asleep. So that's another interesting kind of thing, that I guess if the devils are possessing somebody, even the devils need to sleep while they're possessing people. But again, these are all things that I'm not sure if they're going to be important to the overall plot. Just might be reaching a little bit. But immediately after they fall asleep and we get the reveal that she's starting to warm up to Chainsaw Man, we snap right to Denji being a chair.
Yeah. So yeah, and it kind of brings to mind the whole, it's kind of like a joke now online, or it's become a meme, becoming a dog. Kind of onto that.
Denji, the ultimate sub.
Yeah.
Well, and I love the them playing around with that dynamic. It was one of my favorite panels in this chapter. Was try to stop me and you're dead, and now I'm gonna go back to be a chair now. It's just like the most intimidating thing you can tell to somebody, that you're like, I'm going to kill you if you don't do what I want. Now I'm gonna go back to being a slave and let somebody sit on me. It's just very opposite things.
I do gotta say, though, I mean, we still don't know what's happened to Denji, or how, he's been living since part 1. Mm-hmm. But it is kind of like, at first, when he first came in, and we saw him, like that chapter when he's just talking to Yoshida, it was fun seeing that side of, him wanting girls and stuff like that. But the more we're getting into this, like especially in chapter 104 now, it kind of feels like we've lost a lot of the character growth that Denji was experiencing before. Like in part 1, it was all about, boobs for him and stuff. But then throughout the story, he realized that it's more than just sex. You know, you become more sensual with someone when you actually care for them, and it's something deeper than just, you know, sexual feelings. And it seems like now, after all this time, he's kind of reverted back to his old ways. And it kind of just feels like a step back. I mean, obviously, like I was saying, we don't know what's happened since then. You know, and especially, you know, everything that happened with him and Makima. I mean, he really, you know, fell for her. He was basically in love with her. So, I mean, it could explain, you know, why he's kind of reverted back to his old ways. But at the same time, it's like, it's kind of a shame that it's that way. I mean, does that make sense? I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I just kind of disagree. I think he might be doing it for different reasons. I think he's being kind of distant and not trying to, you know, become like close friends with Yoshida or anybody else because of, like, he'd previously let his guard down with and became, you know, so close with power and is it Aki? Yeah, Aki. And
Aki,
and he just had to go through all of that he went through with them. So I don't blame him for, you know, not, you know, necessarily trying to be the most social or, you know, trying to have everybody like him or that kind of thing. But he's still just a teenage boy. So I kind of feel like even at the end of the series, I'd say one of his most profound moments is when they're in the bunker and after the betrayal and all that stuff. And he's watching the TV and realizes that everybody loves Chainsaw Man. And he's like crying into the monitor and stuff. Like, I don't really feel like he ever had that moment where he's just like, oh man, I've been wrong this whole time. I need to change my ways. Like, I feel like it's still always been Denji. It's just, especially at the end of part 1, he just realized that the people he was after and the people that he had closest to him, he had his priorities mixed up. And now he doesn't really have somebody holding his hand anymore. And even at the very beginning of the series, he was just kind of a lost puppy who didn't even know how to, you know, live life normally. So he's still learning, I think. And I kind of actually really appreciate that he's, you know, not that wise end of the series protagonist.
No, I agree with Jason here.
Yeah, I mean that does make sense, especially what you were just saying, you know, at the end with the whole TV thing. Like, he was like, "Oh man, all these women love me," type of thing, and that's what made him want to become Chainsaw Man again. That is very true. So I guess I'm just being weird. So.
It happens. What'd you have, Ben?
I was just saying, I think you laid it out perfectly. I agree with you, and I think also, like, given the traumatic events in part 1, like, it was trauma after trauma, basically, for Denji. So, like, of course, in part 1, he's, you know, we're going to be a lot more invested in him and his growth because we're seeing him go through so much trauma and how that's changing him, right? But, like, here, it's been a while. He hasn't really been going through much trauma. He's just chilling, presumably raising, you know, Naoya, which I really want to see, and I want to see how it's sort of caused him to mature potentially, if he has. Mm-hmm. But, you know, he hasn't been going through the gauntlet that he was going through in part 1, so he's sort of reverted back to, like Jason said, like a normal teenage boy, and also like a sort of like a sad puppy that's just like, you know, he doesn't really have anyone close to him anymore because Aki and Power are of course gone. So I think that this fits his characterization pretty well. And I also like that there's still, like, some clear places for growth that he can go in this part, even though I really want the main focus of this part not to be him, but to be Mitaka. And I think that it's clear now that, you know, there's going to be focus on both of them. I just want more Mitaka, because we got a whole part with Denji, and I just love, you know, Jason, you mentioned this in the beginning, I love her sort of relationship with the War Devil. It's just, I love seeing that dynamic.
Yeah, because the War Devil's kind of, you know, starting to influence her life a little bit, or at least helping her develop, or kind of getting her to get out of her shell in the worst ways possible, of course. But she's at least developing with this. And I'm kind of anxious to see the War Devil, like, possibly change a little bit from her too. Like, I'm wondering if she's eventually going to be able to influence the War Devil to stop being such a jerk. But then again, it is the War Devil, so.
Yeah. But it's like, it reminds me of Parasyte, if any of you have watched or read that.
The South Korean film?
No, not, well, that's, I mean, maybe you could draw a parallel, but I'm referring to like the anime and manga.
Okay. I haven't seen it. Not as familiar with that one.
The Y.
The one with the
which
Y,
is basically like these alien parasites are taking over humans on Earth, and one fails to take over the brain but takes over the arm. So that parasite's like, oh, we got to kill humans, and the human host's like, no, let's not kill humans. And it's a similar, and they sort of play off each other in a similar way to how Mitaka and the War Devil are. So I guess that will be my recommendation at the end of this for people who have never seen Parasyte to check it out. But,
I think I've seen clips, and it's very disturbing. Like,
it's very gross.
More so than this, even.
Yeah. I mean, listen, yeah, but like you're reading Chainsaw Man, you're used to a little bit of body horror, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's some people that love it. So if that's the reason you're reading Chainsaw Man, definitely check out Parasyte, both the anime and the South Korean film. It's not necessarily gory, but it's just a great movie.
It's not the North Korean one?
Yeah, that's the one that like won Movie of the Year a couple years ago. Oh, not the North Korean one? Sorry, you kind of cut out there. Yeah. Oh my god, I would love it if, you know how they do direct-to-DVD crappy movies? Like, I would love it if North Korea does North Korean versions of all the good South Korea things.
Starring Kim Jong-un, Dennis Rodman,
and all
who else can we get in there?
Another detail about, before we move more into the Denji thing, about the Mitaka thing that I thought was kind of interesting. It's, you know, just every costume, every little thing, everything is placed there for a reason, usually. I really enjoyed the subtle, like, at the end of the cafe conversation a couple chapters ago between Denji and Yoshida. The, like, final panel reveals, like, a portrait above them of, like, a bird trapped in a cage, and which could mean so many things to this series or relate to it. One panel in this that I thought was kind of interesting and would be even more interesting if it, you know, pays off later, but the shirt that Mitaka is wearing while she's falling asleep just says cake. And I'm almost wondering if Fujimoto's going to figure out a way where, you know, somebody pretty much gets to make the cake and eat it too. Also, it's kind of going back to that cafe conversation too about how Denji was really into the cake. I might be stretching way too far there, but
no, I think that the cake is definitely a reference to the cafe, especially because consider if you're reading through this like all at once, right? You're reading this after it's ended serialization, then you go like the cafe scene for us was like a couple weeks ago, but it's basically back to back here.
Oh, yeah.
So I think that is definitely intentional that the chapter opens up and she's wearing a cake shirt.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe we'll get more cake and cats later.
And also, speaking of shirts, did y'all notice that Denji is wearing his own merch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's literally wearing his name on his chest.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, he's trying to make everyone love Chainsaw Man, so.
Yeah, it's like he's just waiting for somebody to be like, "Oh, is that a Chainsaw Man shirt?" Yeah, I'm Chainsaw Man, actually. Like, he's just waiting for somebody to ask about it, it seems.
It's funny, like Ben and I, it wasn't really a conversation, but on the Discord channel, you know, Ben, you made a pitch on something, and I was like, it's just so funny that all he has to do is transform, and then that will, you know, prove that he's Chainsaw Man. And you were like, yeah, but that's because he's an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. That is very true.
Yeah.
Well, and also, anytime he transforms, doesn't it kind of like cause him to hemorrhage a bunch of blood and destroys all of his clothes?
Yeah, but like, I mean, how desperate is he for a girlfriend?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think it's also like, I mean, yeah, he's an idiot, of course.
Yeah, I love him.
But
He is an idiot.
but like also, you know, I was thinking about it more, and I think part of it is that he wants to get someone based on him being Denji himself. Like, he wants to get someone as him being Chainsaw Man, not Chainsaw Man being him, if that makes sense.
No, I mean, that's what I was thinking too, because I mean, Chainsaw Man is really disgusting. I mean, you think about it, it's like, how can you really love someone with a chainsaw head? I mean, it's like, whoa. So it's like, it's one of those catch-22 things. He wants everyone to know that he's Chainsaw Man because he's awesome. But at the same time, when he turns into Chainsaw Man, what girl is going to want to be like, oh, yeah, let's jump on that, you know? So
yeah.
Well, yeah, his clothes and body are always covered in blood and stuff. It's just filthy.
And, I mean, if anyone
says too, it's like, oh man, you know, he's kind of bloody and gross. I mean, ugh. Like,
and dumb too. Like, he has a chainsaw pop out of his head. Like, it just that makes me think that he doesn't have a brain in there, and he only saves women. It's so weird. Cats. And he eats cats and dogs, but we're not really sure if he does that. But
That's why he saves them.
Yeah. Wait, are you trying to say that he only saves cats and dogs because he wants to, like...
Oh, are we going there?
Yeah, he wants to... So he can eat them, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's where we're going with that.
Oh, no, not... I feel like you two might have been going to a much darker place than I was.
Well, anyway, he's
not
also...
that desperate.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't get that desperate. But but yeah, we got a couple. I was kind of alluding to. We got a couple pages of probably in another brilliant way that I loved how Fujimoto teased something, and now it's paying off. Is when Denji's just like, I'm looking for somebody who's desperate for a boyfriend. And Yoshida's instantly like, oh, I know exactly who it is, and that's how it all ties in to that's how we get Denji to finally meet Mitaka, and it's just the dynamic, the tension between Yoshida and Denji just continues to grow. I mean, even in this chapter, Yoshida was telling him that he will stop him with force if he has to. And that's when Denji delivered the line, you know what, if you do that, I'm going to kill you. Now, excuse me, I'm going to go be a chair for a lady.
Yeah.
And then we cut to, obviously, Denji becoming a chair for Yoshida, because he's loaded and has money. But then we get to the rooftop, and we get the first conversation with Denji and Mitaka. And... it's just, he's consistently needing to hide that he's Chainsaw Man, but she just keeps on berating him and bringing up very valid, good points. And watching him have to try to defend himself while keep the secret is just, it was a lot of fun, I thought. But that's kind of what I was alluding to.
And I love also how the conversation is like paneled. Like, it is... I mean, Fujimoto's a master of how he lays out his comics, but like, especially in this chapter, the paneling is just great. And it's something that a lot of other mangas don't really do in the same way, where they won't have characters from panel to panel being like the same expression, basically. And I really dig it. I think it's
no, yeah, I agree. I mean, it definitely. It creates a sense of time, or time is passing. Because when you just read, it's basically the pace that you're going at. But when you see the same panel like over and over again, it's like, oh wait, this is happening for a longer period of time, and you're able to experience it more. Yeah, I completely agree. It adds
for the lack of a better term, it's very cinematic. Like,
yeah, and that's something that like happens with a lot of. I mean. Goodbye Eri, that was very much, it was shot like a movie, and I think Fujimoto's using that even more like throughout his other works as well.
You can also. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I also think it actually draws attention to like subtle changes in expression and posture, more than it would otherwise, which like make the characters feel more expressive despite changing less. which is very interesting.
Well, yeah, a perfect example of it would be I have the chapter up. I haven't memorized exactly what pages and panels in my brain, but page 12 of this chapter, it's kind of where Yoshida says, Denji can take anything you say. You can say whatever you want about Chainsaw Man. And we get a panel, like, no words, no nothing, and you can almost hear her, like, taking a breath and being like, okay, well, I'm about to say everything I have about Chainsaw Man. Like, it's just those, like, moments that he decides to draw that add that levity or that, like, time to breathe. Like, you're about to get a whole bunch of dialogue, and this character is about to go on a rant, so I'm going to show them getting mentally prepared for it. And it just really, really helps put you into it. Like, and I think that really benefited here because then it just goes exactly into the back and forth of Mitaka and Denji, her berating him and him trying to convince her that Chainsaw Man's actually awesome. But yeah, another one of my favorite bits too is almost the end of that conversation too, where she says, doesn't he eat people? He's a devil. Eat people? No way. And then it cuts back to Denji just thinking about it, is like, yeah, shit, I have actually, yeah, I have eaten people. Okay, it was just the one time. Like, I really like moments like that. But then Denji kind of gets to his breaking point, and we've been shown consistently that it doesn't take a long time to get there. Like, he's impulsive, which was definitely proven in the cafe and many other times in the series, and to quote Ben, he's kind of dumb. So him proclaiming that he knows all these things because he is Chainsaw Man. And I kind of loved how this chapter ended with them. We're not really sure how she took this information. She calls him a loser and then storms away, but we don't know if she's doesn't believe him or if she is just going to take that information. I almost wonder if we're going to, next chapter will start with her continuing to walk away, and then War Devil snaps in and is just like, he's not lying. That is him. It's that tension. It just keeps on building more and more tension. And keep on building the tension between Denji and Yoshida. And now that Denji and Mitaka have actually met, it's time to build up that tension as well.
And what's also, I think, a perfect segue, actually, something that I think was really fun is on one level, I had originally thought that a lot of the the romantic tension in this was going to be between Mitaka and Yoshida, because obviously there was that moment where the War Devil, takes over. It makes it seem like, she's asking Yoshida out when she was only doing it so that she could control him or turn him into a weapon. So originally there was that aspect, but then that ended up evolving into a thing that could, potentially be between Mitaka and Denji. But on another level, it's also interesting that since we're under the impression, since Yoshida has been a devil hunter for a while, he's been in this particular arena, that he saw the scars that suddenly appeared on Mitaka's face, and therefore is probably under the impression that Mitaka is under the influence of some type of devil or other supernatural force, which is why he might have also connected her with Denji. So it wasn't just, he's not just connecting them, because, oh man, there's a guy that wants a girl and she might actually be desperate because she asked me out randomly. But she could, but he could be doing it because it's like, oh, this girl might actually be in distress and it might be best to connect you with someone who could help. So it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, I'm leaning that that's not the case because I think Yoshida's kind of... the impression that I've been getting of him is that he's also kind of airheaded. Like the whole thing just struck me as he's like, oh, I don't know, head empty. This person that I encountered. Oh, yeah, this could work. So I don't know. I think that he's like a yeah, he looks cool, but and he's been in the devil hunting game for a while, but he's not like a mastermind. I think he's just like, you know,
At least,
I don't know.
I mean, at least the one good thing, or the only clue that I had that he saw it was in one of those panels, that were talking about, where it kind of like it focuses in on the face and you see it twice, and there's just a little bit of a change, like when the scars suddenly appear on Mitaka's face, there is a particular cell like right after it where Yoshida's like, "Whoa, what?" And he even says scars ... or something along those lines. So at least
it's like him realizing
it is in the back in his mind. But yeah, there's that too. He is kind of not all there.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more we might already have the answer to how Mitaka took this information. Because if she did believe him, and if the War Devil heard this and believed it too, I think she would have instantly transformed into the War Devil and then been like, "Oh, cool, that's kind of hot." And
wait, I'm messing up.
I'm saying at the end of the chapter, if after he says, "I know because I am Chainsaw Man," if War Devil did believe this and she heard this too, I almost think that she would have switched personalities there and then, because to be able to get for her to be able to control Denji, which is her end goal, that there was her opening right there. Like if she said like, "Oh wow, that's actually pretty hot. Let's hang out." Like that would have very easily have gotten Denji to be controlled by her, because he's pretty much opening himself up to, "Hi, I'm this guy. Let's possibly hang out." So her storming off and calling him a loser, I think I don't think she picked up on it, but hopefully it's the first clue, and she'll get another obvious clue I think later on, or he'll transform right in front of her and be like, "Oh my god, he wasn't lying." But I think that if she did believe him, I don't think she would have just stormed off.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, there's also something else too. I'm trying to remember which one it is, but it was during when the Bat Devil thing first appeared. The War Devil said that I can't possess you, or I can't take over when you are in extreme like fear. Is that what it was? Or is that the only one she can take over? When can she take over?
No, she can't take over in extreme fear.
That's right. So I mean, then again, you could say, "Oh, she's actually believing him, and she's scared crapless." But at the same time, you're not really seeing that in her face. And we've already seen like what she looks like when she's scared. She's not able to. She doesn't have that much control over herself to be able, And then there's also the part too. I mean, I wonder if the War Devil is aware of her, but there's no. Because I was going to say, like, could the War Devil be aware of the mistake that she made with Yoshida earlier by taking over and her scars appearing? Maybe that's why she didn't do it. But at the same time,
I don't think the War Devil's that self-conscious. I think that maybe because Mitaka was like, "Don't do that," maybe that's why she'd back off a bit. But
cool kick, because like exactly, there's nothing in here that shows that she's aware of that mistake. So yeah.
No, and I think it'd actually be a really cool panel, or if the next chapter picks up right after this, and she's just like, "Man, I can't believe that loser would try to make me think he's Chainsaw Man just to hook up with me." And then like War Devil snaps in, and she's like, "Unless he is really Chainsaw Man," and just kind of playing the long game.
Or I could see a thing being like War Devil pops up and is like, "What are you doing? He said he's Chainsaw Man." And Mitaka being like, No, you don't understand teenage boys. He was just saying that to look cool.
That's what's so cool about this. Like, there's all these fun little layers to how the relationship works. But it just creates a lot of fun speculation, because I mean, there's that all these levels that Fujimoto was adding, like, "Oh, you can only take over when you're, or I can't take over when you're completely scared," and all these other things. It's just cool, like these little layers that you can speculate about.
Well, it really kind of just comments on the genius of this entire series, like because it
Yeah.
works on a surface level of just being an entertaining manga where good guys fight bad guys and it's gory and cool action and stuff. But once you get past that and realize that it's just so like multi-layered and so well constructed and really complex, the more you look into it, like it just works on so many levels. And yeah, that's why we love talking about Chainsaw Man on Mega Manga Monday. So,
And there's also the whole thing too of when I think it was chapter 100 when we saw a different side to the War Devil, like we started seeing her almost being nice to Mitaka. So it was like so there's that whole thing where it's like, oh, she's evil obviously because she's the War Devil and she's the villain type of thing, but we're starting to see this nicer side of her. So then it causes us to take a step back. It's like, wait a second, like is she completely evil or not? It's just it's fun. I'm enjoying this.
Well, yeah, and kind of what we were saying earlier too. It'd be interesting to see if Mitaka has an influence on War Devil eventually.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even we've to kind of retreat back to something I said earlier that at the end of the day, she is the War Devil, so she's probably evil as shit. But when it comes to Chainsaw Man, I mean, Chainsaw Man was supposed to be the pretty much the most feared devil in all of hell, and then somehow he got transformed into the most adorable dog that we all want a pillow of. And also very nice, and Denji like changed him and kind of helped him realize
War
that...
Devil's a cute owl.
That's true. I forget about the owl thing. So yeah, I mean, at this point, it could go any way. Very excited to see how it all shapes up in Chainsaw Man Chapter 105, and we'll definitely be talking about it when it comes out. But anything else about Chainsaw Man 104 before we move into plugs and recommendations, gentlemen?
Well, I mean, I would just say really quickly, I mean, just going off what we were just talking about, I mean, of course, on the surface, war is a horrible thing, but then there's that whole theory of, just war theory, where there are those that say that war, while horrible, is sometimes a necessary evil, and that could also play into her character as well. I'd be really interested. I hope that's the case, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, because it's almost like if this character, if War Devil got eaten fully disappeared, would it be great for the world or not? And I'm gonna go on the side of it would be great. I think war is bad.
Agreed.
Hot take here on Honzy, or hot take from Jason on Mega Manga Monday. So, yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. Definitely anxious to see how War Devil responds to Denji's proclamation, if at all. But yeah,
do we want her to answer that? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, we want it to be answered, but is it something that would be better to be left unsaid for a while so that can percolate in our minds? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's like one of those things I kind of want it to.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, Fujimoto has gotten up there. Like, there's a couple manga writers that have just transcended to the level where I'm like, it would be kind of cool if this happens, but but if it doesn't, I'm sure that Oda or Fujimoto has something even better in mind in the future that none of us saw, and he wouldn't have been able to do that if he had done this that we thought was going to happen, that kind of thing. So I'm sure Fujimoto is going to make it awesome, and I'll keep reading.
Yeah, and I'm glad that, and I just got to say too that I'm glad that I was wrong earlier. So it's exciting. Fujimoto hasn't failed yet, and he's still doing a good job, so I'm really happy.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I think that'll about do it for Chainsaw Man Chapter 104 on Mega Manga Mondays. I'm Jason Hahn, and I would love it if you checked out more Mega Manga Mondays. We talk about other series as well, like the aforementioned One Piece, My Hero Academia, Berserk, Dragon Ball Super, all kinds of stuff. Definitely check us out on Twitter. You can follow us there for updates and know when new episodes are coming out and what we're going to be talking about. But you can follow us there on @Manga Mondays. We also have a new website. If you just kind of Google, I don't have the web address memorized, but I'll have it in the description. But we got a new website through Podbean. So if you Google Mega Manga Mondays Podbean, it'll probably show up. But would love it if you followed us and all that stuff. And let us know in the comments what you thought. We'd love to hear if there's anything that you think we missed about the chapter or anything that you disagree with. We love talking about manga, obviously. And Steven, any plugs or recommendations, man?
Beyond manga, I'll just say that I am finally delving into... Well, actually, thanks to my sons, because I recently got them into Powerpuff Girls, so I've been living in that land for a while, and when I was, as I'm rewatching it with them, I was like, hey, I wonder if there are ever any comics, and IDW had one, and so has DC, so I've been kind of delving into that world of Powerpuff Girls. The only sad thing is, I actually think from what I've read so far is the IDW's series was a lot better in that it just kind of delved deeper into the overall lore of the Powerpuff Girls, if you can believe there is lore there. But yeah, it's kind of a shame. There was the first part of the series, which I really dug, and then once the 2016 TV series came out, which kind of retconned the whole entire show, kind of gave the Powerpuff Girls that Teen Titans Go type of vibe. IDW dropped the old series and kind of restarted it to kind of follow the 2000s TV series, which is kind of a shame, even though I love the 2016. But I'm hoping that since there is news that Craig McCracken, who wrote the original Powerpuff Girls show, he's coming back on and is going to be doing a new TV series based on the old Powerpuff Girls. So I'm hoping that IDW will launch another Powerpuff Girls series based on that TV show when it inevitably comes out. But yeah, if you're a fan of Powerpuff Girls, there are comics, and it's there, and they're wonderful and awesome. So I suggest that.
Also look forward to the live-action rendition on the CW, Powerpuff Girls, coming out very soon. I'm sure it's going to be...
Which I believe got canceled.
Yeah. I don't think they even, I think they got, a pilot filmed, and I think it got shut down. But I'm sure that the comics are, of course, going to be way better. That funny joke. But Ben, how about you, man?
Yeah, for my recommendation, I'll just recommend Parasyte, which I believe is called Parasyte the Maxim.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
To distinguish it from the South Korean film. But, very good series, and if you enjoy the dynamic between Asa and Yoru here, I think you'll enjoy the dynamic between the protagonist, whose name I've forgotten, and their right hand, Miki. Yeah, I also have, for a plug, I have a YouTube channel of my own called YGO From Zero, where I go over some historical formats of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. So if that sounds up your alley, definitely check that out.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said earlier, I'll have links and stuff in the description to all of these. I'm also going to put in links for our Screen Rant articles. So if you're interested to see what kind of stuff we write, definitely check those out. One other plug, I have a YouTube channel as well called Honzy and Friends. I like to stream badass and very fun video games. I also do a comedic Let's Play videos from time to time, but recently got through the newest God of War. New trailer for Ragnarok just dropped, and my hair still stands up anytime I think about it. It was a very good trailer. But recently played that on PlayStation 5, and I reviewed Metal Hellsinger, which is a heavy metal first-person shooter where you play to the rhythm of the music that is all provided by Serge Tankian from System of the Down. And
whoa, what? What?
Oh yeah, I'll send you a link, man. But this game, Metal Hellsinger, has musicians from like heavy metal icons providing music for this game, and you're fighting through the realms of hell to the beat of the music. And as you play to the beat, yeah, as you play to the beat of the music, your score multiplies, and once you hit the maximum multiplier, then the vocals kick in. And it's so good. I can't recommend it enough. But check out my review on Screen Rant for Metal Hellsinger. And Mega Manga Mondays. I played the first chunk of it. So if that sounds up your alley, please check that out. And like, comment, and subscribe, all those things. But that'll about do it for this podcast for Mega Manga Monday. Look forward to talking Chainsaw Man 105. And thanks for your time today, guys. And look forward to the next one.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. See y'all next time.
Peace.